Hi, I'm Chris Phipson. I'm with Virtual LUG. And every year, as Brickworld knows, we do a different story every year. This year we've done the Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey. So the story starts off here in Ithaca, where Odysseus is going to go off to war. So unfortunately he has to leave his family and his kingdom behind. And this was built by Hans Dendau. And I pray I said that right. At least I said, did I say Hans or Hans?
Hans.
That was an inside joke.
Okay.
His name is pronounced Hans, as in Hans Christian Andersen. Okay, so he leaves to go off to the Battle of Troy. And most people are familiar with Troy, the Trojan horse and all that kind of stuff. So we'll go ahead and start moving around. And if you want to stop, we luckily won Best Group Layout this year.
Very cool. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Come around here to Troy. And this was built by me. And we got Matt Roundtree was nice enough to build all the ships for the entire display. He did 90% of the ships here, and he also built the horse for me. So we got Troy here with everybody invading. We've got Achilles leading the Greek army coming in. Hector on the top there. Back in the corner we have Helen of Troy and Paris, who was the whole instigator behind the whole Helen of Troy, Trojan horse, all that stuff. And actually Odysseus was the one who came up with the idea for the Trojan horse during the invasion.
Sure.
So after that he goes off. And he's going to start his journey back home. And we come to Dennis Price's The Lotus Eaters, where he tells his men, do not eat the lotus flowers. It's basically a drug. And they spend a lot of time there because the lotus flowers actually make you lose track of time. So they spend I don't know exactly how long, I do apologize, but they spend a couple years there. And then they're off on their journey again. And actually, I'm sorry, before we move on, the invading army of the Greeks here, we have the Wookiee contingent.
Definitely needed on the invasion army.
Absolutely. On this one here, we have Wild Style from the Lego Movie. She's helping that there. If we come back here, this is actually the Virtual LUG invasion fleet. This is all of our sig figs on the invasion fleet coming in. Over here we have Emmett from the Lego Movie. He's using the piece of resistance to make sure nobody crackles any of this. And then, of course, we have the Bears. You know, we're in Chicago. You got to have the Bears invading Troy.
Definitely.
Okay, so moving on. The Isle of Polyphemus. Polyphemus is a giant Cyclops and also one of the sons of Poseidon. So there's a whole story. Take an hour just to tell this section, but this was built by Mark Kelso and sent with Dennis Price. They brought it up. Kelso again this year was unable to join us. It's funny, Mark Kelso has actually been a major part of every collaborative that we've done as Virtual LUG, but has never seen a collaborative in person. He was there the first year. It was he and I that first started talking about, hey, let's do Lord of the Rings all those years ago. And he's never seen one put together. So hopefully we'll get him up here next year. If he's listening to this, Mark, get up here. So there's a big fight that goes on here with Odysseus and his men and Polyphemus, and they take out Polyphemus's eye. Well, Polyphemus is upset, calls out to his father Poseidon and says, I want you to kill Odysseus, but if you can't kill him, at least make sure he never gets home. So that's what sets us off on our grand adventure.
Now, a quick question there.
Yes,
How
sir.
did you do the eye on the Cyclops there?
Well, again, that was Mark Kelso. I believe it's just a custom decal.
Okay, that's what it was looking like, but I wasn't sure.
Right, but as you can tell, he is a fully posable minifig. So, yeah, that's what we got so
Very
far.
cool.
Moving on, this was built by Kevin Lauer, Dave Sterling, and Allison Sanchez. This is the Isle of Aelios. After he leaves Polyphemus' island, he comes here, and he knows that Odysseus knows the winds are blowing him off course. So Aelios, the god of the wind, says, I'm going to take all the winds except for the westward wind, and I'm going to put them into a bag. And all you have to do is keep this bag closed, and the westward wind will take you home. So he goes back to his ship, and he has the bag with him, and his men think that it's treasure. He says, don't open the bag. The guys wait till Odysseus falls asleep, and they open the bag. The winds are released, and he's blown off course again. Moving on. We'll just go in. It's not quite story order, but we'll just go in order of the mocks here. Over here, we've got Circe's Island, built by Camille McKenzie, also known as Lita Cat online. And that's the island where, when they arrive, Odysseus makes his way up there. Circe is a witch, and what she does, long story short, she ends up turning all of his men into animals. When we get around the other side, you'll be able to get a better view. There's a courtyard there with all of his men turned into animals, and some brick-built animals as well. There's a lion there that we all love, and Lita was like, oh, I don't like it, and we all loved it. So it's there. There's a couple other things there. Moving on down here, built by Tyler Hallowell. We thought it very appropriate that Tyler build the island of the Lestigerians, being as he is actually a giant himself. Tyler over there standing at 6'8", biggest member of Virtual LUG. So they come here and they have a big fight with the giants. And again, we won't get into a lot of detail, but just some amazing work here by young Master Hallowell. All the little details, like the spear going through one of Odysseus's men here.
Oh yeah, definitely. Really nice little details on the giants and everything, and the landscape and everything here looks really great.
Yeah, Tyler works at this scale. The work he does at this scale is just amazing. He's truly a very gifted artist with this. And we're moving on. This isn't really major part. This is just some of the ships that got shipwrecked throughout. But this is a good place to stop and say that the Aegean Sea, which is where the entire Odyssey takes place, you see here all the dots, was from Adam Stasiak, one of our LUG members. He works here at the Lego store. And he's the one that made sure that we got enough dots to actually cover this 300 square foot monstrosity.
Yes, this is massive here. So yeah, you obviously, do you know how many boxes or pieces of whale water?
We have estimates, not exact. The estimates for the dots are somewhere between 400 and 500,000.
Okay.
And parts count for the entirety of this layout it's shy of 1 million. So you're looking at probably in the 900,000 range if you want to get real technical.
Wow.
And that's including obviously every little dot.
Sure.
When we get to Lee's build, he's got a couple of 100,000 dots in there just on his own. So speaking of Lee, moving on. We all know Dr. Lee Jones, one of the staples of Brickworld, the Lego world in general.
Yeah.
He built Hades. This is when Odysseus goes into the underworld to find out exactly how to get home. There's one of the characters who was killed in Troy. His spirit is in the underworld, and Odysseus has to come down to find out how to get back home from this spirit. The fun part of that is that the person who knows how to get back was actually on the Trojans' side, not the invading Greek side. So there's a whole story behind that. We'll stop here and look at Adam Reed Tucker built the haunted hell ship coming in through at World of Lights. This was really cool because it lights up underneath. We got some black lights for Lee. He sent me out to Walmart the other day. Said, Chris, I need this. So off I went. Being the only local boy here,
okay.
I know where everything is. So we got that done. And then if we come around into Hades, Cerberus actually, or Cerebrus, or everybody pronounces it differently. I say Cerberus. That was built by Master Sifu, Leo J. And we got Virtual LUG behind us posing for you.
Yeah, make sure we get a shot of that.
And starting from right to left, we got Betsy, Dave Sterling, Matt Roundtree, Dave Coletta, the giant himself, Tyler Hallowell, Dr. Lee Jones, Millie, and who we call every year it's the head HMFIC, a head mother in charge. This year it was the head German in charge, Kevin Walter. Thank you so much, Kevin, for everything you've done for us this year.
Awesome job.
He was in charge. He brought it all together, and he made it all happen. So thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you. Very cool.
All right, coming back to Lee's build. He's actually, if you come in underneath on the build there, you'll see that it's actually floating. This box is floating. He uses a rare earth magnet. He came up with this concept a couple years ago, and we've been trying to get it incorporated into everything we can. We try and get all sorts of different little details, moving parts, different innovations that we can come up with. Lee's innovation was that. You know, we have all the different moving the winds and all stuff like that. Unfortunately, Bart is not here. We'll get to Mount Olympus in a moment. But, you know, the clouds moving there. I've got the working waterfall in Troy. And, you know, we try and work as many of those little elements into it as we go along.
And that's something I always love about the Virtual LUG displays here at Brickworld, is those types of elements and things that include to just take it to the next level to make it so much cooler.
Right, yeah. One of my original thoughts, and yes, I will say my original thought, the rest of Virtual LUGs are going to go, Chris, you were crazy. I actually wanted to do real water for the entire thing. And the logistics behind it, you know, the concept was there for about 10 minutes.
Sure.
And I talked to Mark Kelso about it, and he's like, oh yeah, it'd be really cool, but how are you going to get all the water out? You know, you're talking hundreds of gallons of water. But I made sure that I got a real working water fountain in Troy, just so I could have the one water feature. Okay.
Definitely.
Moving on, we have the Island of the Sirens by Dave Coletta. After Odysseus comes out of Hades, they're going to be going by the Island of the Sirens. Now, the Sirens sing their song, and it makes the sailors come into the rocks. They crash up on the rocks, the ship breaks, and then the Sirens eat the sailors. That's what they do. They're sirens, right? So Odysseus knows this tale, and what he does is he wants to be the only mortal to ever hear the siren's song. So he has all of his men put wax in their ears, beeswax, so that they can't hear it. And then they strap him to the mast of the ship there, and so he can hear the siren's song. And again, more to it than that, but that's basically what happens. And as they go by, he becomes the only mortal to ever hear the siren's song and live to tell the tale. In the center of our build here, did I say Dave Coletta? I have to make sure I get all the names in.
Yes,
okay.
Definitely, Matt. Make sure we mention that.
Yeah, the master. In the center of our build here, we have Mount Olympus, built by El Barto, Bart Laro. He unfortunately had to leave this morning. He always comes in late and leaves early. So because, of course, he had to leave early, the clouds are not rotating for the video, and I truly apologize for that. But the clouds they do move around. If anybody saw the tornado from Wizard of Oz last year, same concept. How the tornado rotated, the clouds rotate around Olympus, and you got all the gods up there on top watching everything, watching the story go by. Moving on, from our head German in charge, we have Kevin Walter, who built Scylla and Charybdis. The short version of this tale, as the boats come in, it's well known that no boat can get past the gaping maw, so you have to go close to the other side. Unfortunately, the creature there, she's always going to get someone. So Odysseus was told by the gods in advance that 6 of his men would be taken, and 6 of his men were taken. He knew that going in, and he went through anyway, because he had to get home. Moving on, we have Kyle Peterson and Brian Bonahum, who worked together to create the Isle of Helios. The short version of this is the men are starving, and they come up on this island, and all of the cattle are under the protection of the sun god Helios. I think Apollo's worked in there somewhere, but, you know, hey, I only watched the movie. Okay, it was a good movie. It was with Armando Sante, Vanessa Williams. I watched the movie. I didn't sit down and read the Odyssey. I'm sorry. But, so they're starving, and eventually they end up killing a cow and, eating the cattle. Bad things happen. Zeus sends a lightning bolt down to destroy the ship, and it destroys Odysseus' ship. And looking on the build here, if we go down and look underneath, they built an entire underwater scene here. Now, one of the fun parts of this is most people use the Brickworld tables for their tables. We decided not too long ago that I would actually physically build these tables myself. So I built these in my garage, and because we had to have Lee's section down with plexiglass on it so the lights can shine through and all that kind of stuff. So I built the table, and for Kyle here, he said, "Oh, I'm building my own table. We'll be fine. Just cut out a portion for me." Okay, no problem. So we get here for setup, and he says, "Where's my table?"
I don't think that's the way that was supposed to work out.
So I grabbed Matt Roundtree, and I live 4 miles north of here, so we went up to my house and we built him another table in an hour and brought it back to the exact specifications, and it slid in perfectly, and here we go. So crisis averted.
Worked out well.
It worked out well in the end. So then our tale brings us to the middle of the aisle, middle there. We have the Isle of Circe. Circe, played by Vanessa Williams in the movie. Odysseus spends approximately 7 years on the Isle of Circe as her lover. Now, with that in mind, you have to remember that he's trying to get back to his wife and family. So this is, a good family tale to tell around a campfire. So he spends about 7 years there before she finally lets him go and lets him on his way. And he gets to come back to Ithaca. Finally home after 2 decades on on his giant Odyssey, which is where we get that word from. And you'd think his troubles would be over, but no. Oh no, his troubles are not quite almost just beginning, but we're coming to the end. What has happened, because he's been gone for 20 years, he was the king of Ithaca. Well, his wife, the queen, has had suitors coming after her. I believe somebody told me 107 suitors. We'll call it 100, make it round numbers. So, and his son, Odysseus' son, Telemachus, has grown up, and Odysseus actually goes in disguise, dresses as an old beggar, goes in. The suitors are all in the house because they've been staying at the house for the last 20 years, trying to get it together with his wife. Penelope is her name. And one thing leads to another, and Odysseus and his son, there's actually a very good tale. I strongly suggest reading the book, even though I didn't, and learning the tale of how he overcomes the suitors and wins his kingdom and his family and his wife back. And there you go. That is the tale of Odysseus.
That is a fascinating story. The Odyssey is obviously really incredible, and I mean, you guys just did such an awesome job capturing all these different builds from it. So with all these different builders here, how do you guys collaborate to make sure you all have, the different builds done on time and correctly? Do you have meetings, or how does that work?
Well, there's a lot of whips involved, a couple of tasers. But other than that, no, we have our Virtual LUG website online that is for us, and we go in there and we have different threads where we can, we start off with the concept, okay, and then once we've decided on our concept, we put all the different locations of and this is every year when we do these, and everybody chooses a section of what they're going to do, and then we usually try and get someone who's very passionate about the story. Kevin is very passionate about the Odyssey, so we put him in charge. And then we start doling out, responsibilities. Who's going to build what, approximately how big, what are we looking for here? And it changes throughout the year as we go along. Different, I'm going to add 10 studs here, I'm going to subtract this there. But we're able to coordinate within our lug and get everything together. The fun part of this is actually finally seeing what it looks like once we get everything together. Because every year we have the idea, we have the concept, we see the individual builds. Some people post the pictures on, with us, and we keep everything quiet, of course. Sure. Nothing on Flickr or mock pages or anything like that. But it's always fun to see it finally come together. We get that 48-hour rush of making everything together, getting everything set up, make sure everything's in place, fix anything that's broken. We always have the fun of, a couple of years ago with Lord of the Rings, we had Barad-dûr that was completely destroyed, and every year we have something that we have to, this year it was the table. We had to remake a portion of the table. So every year there's something that, gives us that drive to go, and every year we got to come back bigger, stronger, faster, better. As Dr. Jones says, Virtual LUG, go big or go home.
Definitely. So how did you guys decide on the Odyssey then this year? Do you pool ideas and then decide on one that sounds good?
Yeah, that's exactly how it goes. We have our Virtual LUG meeting every year here at Brickworld, and we sit down, we crank out 10, 15, 20 ideas, and then we take it to the LUG. and everybody in the LUG gets to vote on it. Some people don't vote because they're saying I'm not going to be there or whatever. So everybody's opinion matters. That's the beautiful thing about this LUG is we're not a group, we're a family. We really are. We've been the best of friends for years, and I think that's what really sets us apart here. Is we're not just we're the local Chicago LUG, or we're the local Toronto LUG, or Sydney, or wherever the LUG is. We came together because we liked each other first. We were friends first. And the ideas grew from that and from our friendship, and we were able to... I think that's what brings us together in here, and what makes us able to produce these things that get bigger and bigger and bigger every year. Lord of the Rings was 200 square feet. Our Alice in Wonderland wasn't that big. Wizard of Oz was 22 feet long, not square. And then this is close to 300 square feet. So, unfortunately, we have to get bigger, better, stronger, and faster for next year. So Brian might need to get a bigger place, because eventually, call it 5-10 years from now, we'll be taking up the entirety of Brickworld. Apparently, that's the rate we're going.
That's the end game there.
The end game is it's not going to be Brickworld, it's going to be Virtual LUG with a couple of people in the back. We'll have to get everybody involved then. Everybody at Brickworld will eventually be a member, and next year we're going to have to, it's got to be bigger than 300 square feet, and it's got to be a better story, and it's got to be more involved, and who knows? Sometimes we go smaller, so you never know. But it's the general consensus is Virtual LUG, go big or go home.
For sure. Well, that is really incredible. I really appreciate you showing us throughout the whole thing. The story's fascinating, all the awesome builds. So that's really cool. Thanks for talking with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.